The red soil of Valdris III crunched under Anna's boots as she made her way toward the cave entrance. She had been studying alien life forms for 12 years, but this remote mining colony felt different from her previous assignments. The planet seemed too quiet, too empty for a world that showed signs of ancient civilization in its rock layers. Anna adjusted her scanner and checked the readings one more time. The device kept picking up strange energy signatures from deep inside the cave system. Her supervisor back at the mining headquarters thought she was wasting time chasing ghost readings, but Anna knew better. After spending most of her life looking for signs of alien life, she had learned to trust her instincts. The mining company had sent her here to catalog any biological threats before they expanded their operations. So far, she had found nothing but ordinary bacteria and some interesting mineral formations. But today felt different. The scanner in her hand was practically humming with activity. She switched on her headlamp and stepped into the cave. The walls sparkled with veins of unknown, crystals that seemed to pulse with their own inner light. Anna had never seen anything like them before. She took out her sample container and carefully chipped away a small piece of the crystal. It felt warm in her hand, almost alive. As she moved deeper into the cave, the energy readings grew stronger. The tunnels seemed to stretch on forever, branching off in directions that her map said should not exist. Someone or something had carved these passages long ago. The wall showed tool marks that were too precise to be natural, but too old to be human. Anna followed the strongest energy signature down a particularly wide tunnel. Her footsteps echoed in the darkness, and she began to feel like she was being watched. She stopped and listened, but heard only the sound of her own breathing and the steady beep of her scanner. The tunnel opened into a massive chamber that took her breath away. The ceiling disappeared into darkness above her head, and the walls were covered with more of the glowing crystals. But what made her gasp was what stood in the center of the chamber. A creature unlike anything she had ever seen was suspended inside a prison made entirely of crystal. It was enormous, easily the size of a small building. Its body was covered in scales that shifted color in the crystal light, and massive wings were folded against its sides. The head was long and elegant, with closed eyes and what looked like small horns along its skull. Anna's first thought was that someone had built a statue, but her scanner told a different story. The readings showed a complex biological signature, with what appeared to be a very slow heartbeat. This thing was alive. She walked closer, her hands shaking as she recorded everything with her camera. The creature looked exactly like the dragons from old Earth stories, but that was impossible. Dragons were myths, stories told to children. They were not real, and they certainly did not exist on distant planets. But as Anna studied the being trapped in crystal, she could not deny what she was seeing. The creature's chest rose and fell with slow, deep breaths. Its scales seemed to shimmer with each heartbeat. Whatever this was, it was definitely alive. Anna set up her equipment and began taking detailed scans. The results made no sense. The creature's biology defied everything she knew about life. Parts of its body seemed to exist in normal space, while other parts appeared to phase in and out of reality. Its brain activity showed patterns she had never seen before, almost like it was dreaming. She spent hours documenting everything, taking pictures and samples of the crystal prison. The crystal itself was unlike anything in the scientific databases. It seemed to be both organic and mineral at the same time, growing like a living thing but with the structure of a gemstone. As the day wore on, Anna began to notice something strange. The crystals around the creature were pulsing in a steady rhythm. At first she thought it was just the light playing tricks on her eyes, but when she checked with her instruments, she found that the pulses matched the creature's heartbeat. Exactly. The implications made her head spin. This was not just some animal that had been trapped in crystal. The prison had been built around a living being, designed to keep it alive but unable to move. Someone had done this on purpose, and they had done it a very long time ago. Anna packed up her equipment as darkness began to fall outside. She would need to return tomorrow with more tools and probably some help. The mining company would want to know about this discovery, but she was not sure how they would react. The crystals alone were probably worth more money than the entire mining operation. But as she prepared to leave, Anna felt a strange reluctance to go. The creature looked so peaceful in its crystal sleep, but also somehow sad. She could not explain the feeling, but looking at it made her think of someone who had been alone for a very long time. That night, Anna's dreams were filled with images of flying through starlit skies and soaring over alien cities. She saw vast libraries of knowledge and beings of incredible wisdom, sharing their secrets with younger races. The dreams felt more real than her waking life. And when she woke up, she could still feel the sensation of wind beneath wings. She did not have. Anna was not the only one having strange dreams. Over breakfast, several other colonists mentioned similar experiences. They had all dreamed of flying and of ancient civilizations among the clouds. The mining foreman joked that it must be something in the air, but Anna wondered if it had something to do with her discovery. She returned to the cave that morning with more equipment and a growing sense that she was about to change everything. The creature was still there, still sleeping, but Anna could swear that its expression looked different. The closed eyes seemed less peaceful and more like someone who was beginning to wake up. Anna set up her instruments and began a more detailed study. She had no idea that her discovery would soon change not only her life, but the future of humanity itself. The creature in the crystal was about to teach them that sometimes the most fearsome appearances hide the kindest souls, and that friendship can be found in the most unexpected places. The mining drill screamed as it bit into the crystal formation, sending sparks flying in all directions. Anna watched in horror from the entrance of the chamber as the workers attacked the very crystals she had told them to avoid. She had spent 3 days trying to convince the mining company to leave the creature alone, but corporate greed had won over scientific curiosity. "Stop!" Anna shouted over the noise of the machinery. "You don't understand what you're doing." The foreman, a thick-set man named Roberts, wiped sweat from his forehead and grinned at her. "We understand perfectly, Doc. Those crystals are worth more than this entire operation. The company wants them out, and we're going to get them out." Anna rushed toward the drill, but 2 security guards blocked her path. She could only watch as the machine carved deeper into the crystal prison that had held the creature for who knew how long. Cracks began to appear in the glowing walls, spreading outward like a spiderweb. Suddenly, the drill bit snapped with a sound like breaking glass. The entire chamber shook, and dust fell from the ceiling. The workers looked around nervously as the crystal prison began to glow brighter than ever before. "Everyone out," Roberts yelled, but it was too late. The crystal wall exploded outward with a sound like thunder. Anna was thrown backward by the force, her ears ringing. When the dust cleared, she looked up to see the impossible sight of the dragon creature, stretching its enormous wings for the first time in millennia. The being was even more magnificent than Anna had imagined. Its scales shifted through colors she had no names for, and its eyes, now open, held an intelligence that seemed older than the stars themselves. The creature looked around the chamber with what Anna could only describe as confusion, as if trying to remember where it was. The mining workers scrambled for the exits, screaming about monsters and calling for weapons. Only Anna remained too amazed to move. The dragon's gaze fell on her, and she felt a strange tingling in her mind, as if someone was gently knocking on a door inside her head. The voice that spoke to her was not heard with her ears, but felt directly in her thoughts. It was warm and musical, like the sound of wind through ancient trees. "Little one," the voice said, "why do you not flee like the others?" Anna found her own voice, though it came out as barely more than a whisper. "You're not going to hurt me, are you?" The great head tilted to one side, and Anna thought she saw something like amusement in those ancient eyes. "Hurt you? Child, I have not seen a living soul in longer than your species has existed. Why would I wish you harm?" Before Anna could respond, the chamber filled with the sound of running feet and shouting voices. The mining company's security team burst through the entrance, weapons raised and ready to fire. Behind them came Roberts and several other workers, all looking terrified but determined. "Get away from it, Dr. Rivers," Roberts shouted. "We've called for backup from Earth. Military ships are on their way." The dragon's expression changed, becoming sad and tired. Anna felt the creature's emotions as if they were her own, a deep weariness and a pain that came from being misunderstood yet again. "They fear me," the dragon said in her mind. "As they always do. As they always have." Anna stood up slowly, placing herself between the security team and the dragon. Wait, you don't understand. It's not dangerous, it's trying to communicate. Communication? Roberts laughed bitterly. That thing could crush this entire colony without breaking a sweat. We're not taking any chances. The dragon spoke again, this time somehow making its voice audible to everyone in the chamber. The sound was like distant thunder but gentle and musical at the same time. I am called Ember, the creature said. I mean no harm to any of you. I have been asleep for so long that I had forgotten what it felt like to be free. The security guards exchanged nervous glances, but kept their weapons trained on the dragon. Anna could see the fear in their eyes and she understood it. Ember was massive and obviously powerful, but she could also feel the creature's genuine sadness at their reaction. How do we know you're telling the truth? Roberts demanded. How? Do we know this isn't some kind of trick? Ember's great wings folded against its sides, making the creature appear smaller and less threatening. Because, small ones, if I meant you harm, would I not have done so already? Would I have spent my first moments of freedom speaking with you, rather than destroying you? Anna felt a flash of memory that was not her own. She saw images of other worlds, other civilizations that had reacted with fear when they first encountered Ember's kind. She saw battles that need not have been fought, and misunderstandings that had led to tragedy. You've been through this before, Anna said softly. Haven't you? Ember's eyes met hers and the sadness in them was almost overwhelming. Many times, little one. My people were guardians once, protectors of younger races, but fear is a powerful thing, and fear of the unknown, even more so. Your people? Robert stepped forward, his weapon still raised. Where are they? Are there more of you coming? No, Ember said simply. I am the last. The others are gone, lost to time and misunderstanding. I was imprisoned by a race that feared what they did not understand. They are gone now too, turned to dust while I slept in crystal dreams. Anna felt tears on her cheeks, though she was not sure if they were her own emotions or Ember's. The loneliness radiating from the dragon was like a physical weight in the chamber. What do you want? She asked. Ember looked at each of the humans in turn, and Anna felt the creature reaching out with its mind, touching each of them gently. Several of the security guards lowered their weapons, confusion replacing fear on their faces. I want what I have always wanted, Ember said, to help, to guide, to protect those who cannot protect themselves. I want to share the knowledge I have gathered over millennia, to help you grow and learn and reach for the stars. And if we refuse? Roberts asked, though his voice had lost much of its hostility. Ember was quiet for a long moment, then sighed, with a sound like wind through mountain passes. Then I will leave as I always have. I will find another world, another people who might welcome a friend instead of fearing a monster. Anna felt her heart breaking at the resignation in Ember's voice. She could see the truth in the dragon's ancient eyes. This was a being who had spent thousands of years trying to help others, only to be met with fear and violence time and time again. You don't have to leave, Anna said firmly. At least, not right away. The military won't be here for months. Maybe we can figure out a way to show them who you really are. Ember's head lowered until it was level with Anna's, and she felt a gentle warmth in her mind that felt like gratitude. You have a kind heart, little one. Perhaps this time will be different. But as the security team reluctantly lowered their weapons and began to back out of the chamber, Anna could not shake the feeling that they were running out of time. The fear in the workers' eyes told her that convincing the rest of the colony would not be easy, and when the military arrived, things would become much more complicated. Still looking into Ember's ancient eyes, Anna felt a spark of hope. For the first time in millennia, the dragon was free, and maybe, just maybe, this time things would end differently. 3 weeks had passed since Ember's awakening, and Anna found herself spending most of her free time in the chamber talking with the dragon. What had started as scientific curiosity had grown into something she could only describe as friendship. Each conversation revealed new layers to Ember's personality, and Anna was constantly amazed by the creature's gentle nature, Despite its fearsome appearance. Today, Ember was telling her stories of distant worlds and ancient civilizations. The dragon's memories stretched back thousands of years, and each tale was more fascinating than the last. Anna had started recording these conversations, creating what would become the most important historical document in human history. "Tell me about your people," Anna said, settling into her usual spot on a comfortable crystal formation. "What were they like?" Ember's great eyes took on a distant look, as if seeing across vast stretches of time. "We were not so different from you humans in many ways. We loved, we learned, we dreamed of better tomorrows. But we were also very old, and with age came a desire to help others grow." "Like teachers?" "More than that," Ember replied. "We saw ourselves as gardeners tending to the growth of younger species. We would arrive on worlds where intelligent life was just beginning to reach for the stars, and we would offer guidance. Not rules or commands, but gentle suggestions and shared knowledge." Anna leaned forward, fascinated. "What kind of knowledge?" "Medicine that could heal any wound, energy sources that would never run dry, technologies that could help a species explore the galaxy without destroying their homeworld." Ember's voice carried a note of pride that was quickly replaced by sadness. "We thought we were helping. What went wrong?" Ember was quiet for a long moment, and Anna could feel the creature's pain through their mental connection. "Fear went wrong. No matter how gently we approached, no matter how carefully we tried to help, there were always those who saw our size and our power and assumed the worst. They would convince others that we were conquerors in disguise, that our gifts came with hidden prices." Anna thought about the reaction of the mining colony and felt a stab of guilt. Even now, 3 weeks after Ember's awakening, many of the colonists remained terrified of the dragon. Governor Walsh had posted guards around the cave entrance and strictly limited who could visit. "Is that what happened to you?" Anna asked. "The civilization that imprisoned you." "The architects," Ember said, and Anna heard both respect and sorrow in the name. "They were brilliant builders, creators of wonders that spanned star systems. When I arrived on their world, they welcomed me at first. I shared with them the secrets of living crystal, technology that could grow and adapt like biological tissue." Anna looked around at the crystal formations that filled the chamber. "This is their work?" "Yes. They used my gift to create cities that could repair themselves, ships that could heal from any damage. For a time, we worked together in perfect harmony." Ember's voice grew heavy, but their leaders grew suspicious. They began to believe that I was studying them, learning their weaknesses so that my people could conquer them. "Were you?" "I was learning, yes, but only so I could help them better. I wanted to understand their culture, their dreams, their fears. I thought if I knew them well enough, I could guide them past the mistakes that had destroyed so many others." Ember's great head shook slowly. "They saw my interest as a threat." Anna felt tears forming in her eyes as she sensed the depth of Ember's pain. "So they built the prison. They created a trap," Ember confirmed. "They told me they had discovered something wonderful, something they wanted to share with me. When I arrived, they activated the crystal matrix. I was caught completely by surprise, too shocked by their betrayal to resist." "Why didn't you fight back?" "Because I still hoped I could convince them they were wrong. Even as the crystal walls closed around me, I believed that eventually they would see the truth and set me free." Ember's laugh was bitter. "I waited for them to come back for over 1,000 years before I finally accepted that they never would." Anna reached out and placed her hand on one of Ember's massive claws. The contact sent a warm feeling through her mind, and she felt the dragon's surprise and gratitude at the simple gesture of comfort. Their conversation was interrupted by the sound of running feet in the tunnel outside. A moment later, Tom Chen, one of the mining engineers, burst into the chamber. His face was pale with panic and he could barely catch his breath. "Dr. Rivers," Tom gasped. "There's been a cave-in in Section 7. 5 men are trapped, maybe dead. The rocks are too heavy for our equipment to move, and the oxygen won't last much longer." Anna jumped to her feet, her mind racing. Section HFY 7 was on the other side of the mining complex, at least an hour away, even if they took the fastest route. By the time they could get heavy equipment there and clear the debris, it would be too late. "I can help," Ember said quietly. Both Anna and Tom turned to look at the dragon. Tom's eyes went wide with fear, and he took several steps backward. Like most of the colonists, he had avoided the chamber since Ember's awakening. "You?" Tom stammered. "How?" Instead of answering with words, Ember demonstrated. The dragon placed one massive claw against the crystal wall of the chamber, and Anna watched in amazement as the solid rock began to flow like water. Within seconds, Ember had created a tunnel large enough for a human to walk through. "I can reshape matter at the molecular level," Ember explained. "Stone, metal, crystal. They are all just different arrangements of the same basic elements. If your people are trapped by rocks, I can move those rocks." Tom looked back and forth between Anna and the dragon, clearly torn between his fear and his desperation to save his friends. "The others won't like it," he said finally. "Governor Walsh gave strict orders about keeping that thing contained." "Those people will die if we don't act now," Anna said firmly. "And Ember is not a thing. Would you rather follow orders or save lives?" Tom's resolve crumbled. "Can you really help them?" Ember's response was to begin moving toward the chamber entrance. "Lead the way, little one." The journey to Section 7 was unlike anything Anna had ever experienced. Ember moved through the tunnels with surprising grace for such a large creature, reshaping the passages as needed to accommodate its size. What should have taken an hour took less than 10 minutes as Ember created shortcuts through solid rock. When they reached the cave-in site, Anna could hear the trapped miners calling for help from somewhere deep beneath tons of fallen stone. The rescue workers on the scene backed away in terror as Ember approached, but their fear was quickly replaced by amazement as they watched the dragon work. Ember placed both front claws against the debris and closed its eyes in concentration. Anna felt the dragon's mind reaching out, sensing the exact position of every stone, every trapped person. Then, with movements so gentle they looked like a dance, Ember began to reshape the fallen rocks. Stone flowed like liquid, creating tunnels and supports exactly where they were needed. In less than 5 minutes, Ember had cleared a path to the trapped miners and reinforced the entire area to prevent further collapse. The 5 men emerged dirty and shaken but completely unharmed. The rescue workers stood in stunned silence as Ember stepped back, clearly exhausted from the effort. Anna could feel the dragon's fatigue through their mental link, and she realized that the rescue had cost Ember a great deal of strength. "Are you all right?" she asked quietly. Ember nodded. "Sully, reshaping large amounts of matter is tiring, but I will recover. The important thing is that everyone is safe." Tom Chen approached the dragon hesitantly, his earlier fear replaced by awe and gratitude. "You saved their lives," he said simply. "Thank you." Other workers began to step forward, their expressions changing as they realized that this fearsome creature had risked its own well-being to help them. Word of the rescue spread quickly through the colony, and Anna began to notice a shift in how people talked about Ember. Over the following days, more colonists began to visit the chamber. They came hesitantly at first, but Ember's gentle nature quickly put most of them at ease. The dragon seemed to genuinely enjoy meeting new people, and it had an endless supply of stories and knowledge to share. Children were the first to completely accept Ember. They showed up one afternoon with drawings and questions, and the dragon spent hours talking with them about distant worlds and alien creatures. Anna watched in delight as Ember used its abilities to create small crystal sculptures for each child, beautiful works of art that seemed to glow with their own inner light. But not everyone was convinced. Governor Walsh and his security team remained deeply suspicious, convinced that Ember's helpfulness was all part of some elaborate deception. They increased patrols around the cave and sent increasingly urgent messages to Earth, demanding that the military ships arrive as quickly as possible. Anna knew they were running out of time. The military fleet would arrive within a few weeks, and she had no idea how they would react to finding a dragon on what was supposed to be an uninhabited mining world. She could only hope that Ember's growing friendship with the colonists would be enough to protect the ancient being from those who still saw only a monster when they looked at humanity's first alien friend. The emergency sirens wailed across the colony as scientists scrambled to understand what their instruments were telling them. Anna ran through the corridors toward the command center, her heart pounding with fear. The readings made no sense, but if they were correct, everyone on Valdris 3 had less than 6 hours to live. Dr. Martinez, the colony's chief scientist, looked up from his computer screen with panic in his eyes. Anna, thank goodness you're here. We need every expert we can get. The solar monitoring station has detected a massive flare building up in our star. It's going to be the biggest one on record. Anna studied the data streaming across the monitors. The numbers were terrifying. When the solar flare hit, it would strip away most of the planet's thin atmosphere and bombard the surface with deadly radiation. The colony's shields were designed to handle normal space weather, not a catastrophe like this. How long do we have? Anna asked, though she dreaded the answer. 5 hours, maybe 6 at most, Martinez replied. The evacuation ships won't arrive for another 2 days. We're looking at options, but honestly, there's nothing our technology can do to stop something this big. Governor Walsh stood at the center of the room, barking orders at his staff. Send another distress signal to Earth. Activate all emergency protocols. Maybe we can get people into the deepest parts of the mines. It won't matter, Martinez said grimly. The radiation will penetrate that deep. We need at least 50 meters of solid rock between us and the surface, and our deepest tunnels only go down 30 meters. Anna's mind raced as she listened to the desperate planning around her. Suddenly, an idea struck her that made her pulse quicken. What if we had someone who could reshape the rock? Someone who could dig us deeper tunnels or create better shields? Walsh turned on her with fury in his eyes. If you're talking about that monster in the caves, forget it. I'm not trusting our lives to some alien creature that we know nothing about. We know plenty about Ember, Anna shot back. We know it saved 5 people from a cave-in. We know it's been nothing but helpful since the day it woke up. And we know it's our only chance of surviving this. Before Walsh could respond, the lights in the command center flickered. Through the windows, Anna could see a strange glow building in the sky. The solar flare was beginning, and they were running out of time. Anna didn't wait for permission. She ran from the command center and headed straight for the caves, ignoring the shouts behind her. She had to reach Ember and explain the situation before it was too late. She found the dragon in its usual place in the crystal chamber, surrounded by several colonist children who had been listening to stories. Ember looked up as Anna burst through the entrance and immediately sensed her distress through their mental connection. "Little one, what troubles you?" Ember asked, gently encouraging the children to step back. Anna quickly explained about the solar flare and the certain death that awaited everyone on the planet. As she spoke, she felt Ember's emotions shift from concern to deep sadness, and then to something that felt like determination. "Can you help us?" Anna asked desperately. "Can your abilities create some kind of protection?" Ember was quiet for a long moment, its ancient eyes focused on something far beyond the chamber walls. Anna could feel the dragon's mind working, calculating possibilities and weighing options. "Yes," Ember said finally. "I can create a planetary shield, a barrier that will deflect the worst of the radiation and preserve your atmosphere." Anna felt a surge of hope, but it was quickly dampened by the sadness radiating from Ember's thoughts. "What's wrong? What aren't you telling me?" "Such a shield would require me to extend my essence across the entire planet," Ember explained, gently. "It would drain my life force almost completely. I might not survive the effort." The words hit Anna like a physical blow. "No. There has to be another way. You can't sacrifice yourself for us." Ember lowered its great head until it was level with Anna's face. "Child, I have lived for thousands of years. I have seen countless worlds and civilizations rise and fall. But in all that time, I have never found a people who welcomed me with such open hearts. Your friendship has given me more joy than I have known in millennia. But if you die, you'll be alone again, Anna said, tears streaming down her face. Forever this time. Better to die protecting friends than to live forever without them, Ember replied softly. This is what my people were meant to do. This is why we existed. Anna wanted to argue, to find some other solution, but she could see the truth in Ember's ancient eyes. The dragon had already made its choice. She felt a hand on her shoulder and turned to see Tom Chen and several other colonists who had arrived in time to hear the conversation. You would really do this for us? Tom asked in wonder. Even after the way some of us treated you? Ember's gaze took in all the humans gathered in the chamber. Fear is natural when facing the unknown, but you overcame that fear and chose to see me as I truly am. That took courage, and courage deserves to be protected. More colonists began arriving as word spread through the colony. Even Governor Walsh appeared, his face pale with the weight of impossible choices. The command center had confirmed that there was no other option. Either Ember saved them, or everyone died. How do we know you can really do this? Walsh asked, though his voice had lost its hostility. Instead of answering with words, Ember began to glow. The dragon's scales shifted, through colors that Anna had no names for, and she felt power building in the chamber like the charge before a lightning strike. The crystal formations around them responded to Ember's energy, beginning to sing with harmonic frequencies that made the air itself vibrate. I must begin now, Ember said, and Anna could hear the strain in the dragon's voice. The flare will reach us in less than an hour. Anna watched in awe and terror as Ember spread its massive wings to their full extent. The dragon's body began to shimmer and fade, as if it were becoming part of the light itself. She felt Ember's consciousness expanding, reaching out beyond the chamber, beyond the colony, encompassing the entire planet. Through their mental link, Anna experienced what Ember was doing. The dragon's life force was spreading like a web across Feldris 3, creating an invisible barrier between the planet and the deadly radiation approaching from space. She felt Ember's pain as the effort drained strength from the ancient being, but also the dragon's fierce determination to protect its new friends. The sky outside began to change color as the solar flare hit Ember's shield. Instead of the deadly radiation that should have killed them all, the colonists saw a display of lights more beautiful than anything they had ever imagined. The shield held, turning destruction into beauty, death into life. But the cost was terrible. Anna watched helplessly as Ember's form grew fainter and fainter. The dragon's scales lost their vibrant colors, fading to a dull gray. The great wings drooped as Ember struggled to maintain both the shield and its own existence. Don't leave us, Anna whispered, placing her hand on what remained of Ember's solid form. Never, Ember replied, though its voice was barely a whisper in her mind. As long as you remember me, as long as you carry forward what I have taught you, I will never truly be gone. The solar flare raged for 3 hours, but Ember's shield held firm. Not a single colonist was harmed. When it was finally over, the dragon collapsed, its breathing shallow and its great form barely visible. Anna knelt beside her friend, tears falling on scales that no longer glowed. All around the chamber, colonists knelt in respect for the being who had given everything to save them. Governor Walsh removed his hat and bowed his head. Even the children seemed to understand the magnitude of what had happened. Will you be all right? Anna asked, though she could barely speak through her tears. Ember quote, as eyes opened one more time, and Anna felt a faint echo of the dragon's former strength. I will heal, little one. It will take time, but I will heal. And when I do, perhaps you can show me more of what makes humanity so special. Anna smiled through her tears and settled in beside her friend. She would stay with Ember through the long recovery, just as the dragon had stayed to protect them all. Outside, the aurora created by the solar flare painted the sky in brilliant colors. A lasting reminder of the day a dragon proved that love and sacrifice were the greatest powers in the universe. Admiral Sarah Hayes stepped off the transport shuttle expecting to find either a dead colony or a conquered one. The reports from Valdris 3 had been confusing and contradictory. First came emergency signals about an alien threat, then updates about some kind of helpful creature, and finally reports of a dragon saving the entire colony from a solar flare. Hayes had been in the military for 30 years, and none of it made sense. The mining colony looked normal enough from the outside. People went about their daily business and the building showed no signs of damage or attack. But as Hayes and her security team made their way toward the command center, she began to notice unusual things. The power grid was running on some kind of energy source that her instruments couldn't identify. The air recycling system was working at efficiency levels that should have been impossible. Most strange of all, the colonists themselves seemed different. Calmer, happier, more confident than she had ever seen frontier settlers. Governor Walsh met them at the command center, and Hayes was surprised to see how much the man had changed. The last time she had spoken with him, Walsh had been demanding immediate military intervention to deal with what he called a hostile alien presence. Now he seemed almost relaxed, and there was something in his eyes that looked like wonder. "Admiral Hayes," Walsh said, extending his hand in greeting. "Welcome to Valdris 3. I hope your journey wasn't too difficult." "Governor Walsh," Hayes replied carefully. "I have to say your colony doesn't look like what I expected based on your earlier reports. Where is this alleged alien threat?" Walsh smiled, and Hayes was struck by how genuine it seemed. The threat turned out to be something else entirely. "Admiral, I think it would be better if you saw for yourself rather than trying to explain it in words. Would you be willing to take a short trip with me?" Against her better judgment, Hayes agreed to follow Walsh and a small group of colonists toward the cave system. Her security team remained alert, but the colonists around them seemed completely at ease. Children played in the streets, and adults waved cheerfully at the new arrivals. This was not how people acted when living under alien occupation. As they walked, Hayes noticed more impossible improvements to the colony's infrastructure. The water purification plant was producing crystal-clear water at rates that defied the laws of physics. The greenhouse domes were filled with plants that seemed to be growing too fast and too healthy for the harsh conditions on Valdris 3. Everything she saw suggested technology far beyond what the mining company should have had access to. "Governor," Hayes said finally, "I need you to explain what's happening here. These improvements to your systems, where did they come from?" Before Walsh could answer, a young woman Hayes didn't recognize stepped forward. She was clearly one of the colonists, but she carried herself with the confidence of someone who had seen incredible things. "Admiral Hayes, I'm Dr. Anna Rivers, the xenobiologist assigned to this colony. The improvements you're seeing are gifts from our friend, freely given with no strings attached simply because someone wanted to help us live better lives." Hayes felt her patience wearing thin. "What friend? Where is this alleged dragon I keep hearing about in the reports?" Anna smiled, and Hayes saw the same expression of wonder in her eyes that she had seen in Walsh's. "He's just ahead, Admiral, and I think you'll find that everything you've heard about him is true." They entered a cave system that had been expanded far beyond what Hayes's geological surveys indicated should have been possible. The walls were lined with crystals that provided their own light, and the tunnels were perfectly smooth and safe to walk through. At the end of the main passage, they emerged into a chamber that took Hayes's breath away. The dragon was exactly as described in the reports: enormous, magnificent, and obviously intelligent. But what struck Hayes most was not the creature's size or power, but the scene around it. Dozens of colonists were gathered in the chamber, and it was clear that this was a social gathering, not a hostage situation. Children sat close to the dragon's massive form, listening to stories. Adults asked questions about science and technology. The entire scene looked like nothing so much as a beloved teacher holding court with eager students. Ember looked up as the military group entered, and Hayes felt a strange tingling in her mind as ancient eyes met hers. When the dragon spoke, its voice was warm and welcoming, despite the obvious fatigue that Hayes could see in its form. "Welcome, Admiral Hayes. I'm honored to meet you. Your people have told me much about Earth and the civilization you represent." Hayes had prepared for many possibilities, but being politely greeted by a dragon had not been one of them. She struggled to find her voice, and when she did, it came out more uncertain than she had intended. You're really talking to me. You're really intelligent. As are you, Ember replied with what Hayes could swear was gentle amusement. I find intelligence to be one of the most wonderful things in the universe. It allows beings to choose kindness over fear, cooperation over conflict. One of Hayes's security officers stepped forward, his weapon ready. Admiral, we should establish a secure perimeter. This thing could be dangerous. Before Hayes could respond, a dozen colonists moved to place themselves between the soldiers and Ember. These were not the actions of an oppressed people. They were protecting someone they cared about. Please, Anna said quietly. Ember just spent weeks recovering from saving all our lives. The last thing any of us wants is violence. Hayes looked around the chamber, taking in the obvious affection between the colonists and the dragon. She had come here expecting to find either a military threat or a hoax, but what she found instead was something entirely outside her experience. Tell me what happened here, Hayes said, lowering her weapon and signaling her team to do the same. I want to understand. Over the next several hours, Hayes listened to story after story from the colonists. They told her about Ember's awakening, the initial fear and misunderstanding, and the gradual building of trust and friendship. They described the cave-in rescue and the dragon's willingness to sacrifice its own life to protect them from the solar flare. Most importantly, they talked about the knowledge Ember had shared, medical techniques that could revolutionize healthcare, energy systems that were completely clean and renewable, and insights into physics that could advance human science by centuries. And Ember asks for nothing in return? Hayes asked, still struggling to believe what she was hearing. Nothing except friendship, Anna replied. That's all any of us have ever wanted, to be accepted for who we are, not feared for what we might be capable of. Hayes spent 3 days on Valdris 3, and each day brought new revelations. She saw the water purification systems that Ember had designed, watched the dragon create beautiful crystal sculptures for children, and listened as the ancient being shared stories of distant worlds and long-lost civilizations. Most importantly, she saw how the colonists had changed. They were still human, still individuals with their own personalities and desires, but they carried themselves with a new confidence and purpose. On her final day, Hayes sat alone with Ember in the crystal chamber. The other colonists had given them privacy, sensing that the Admiral needed time to process everything she had learned. You're really not a threat to humanity, are you? Hayes said finally. Ember's great head tilted thoughtfully. I am a threat only to ignorance, fear, and the belief that different must mean dangerous. If those things are important to your people, then yes, I suppose I am a threat. Hayes found herself laughing, something she had not expected to do on this mission. You know, if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I never would have believed any of this. A dragon who just wants to help people grow and learn. Is it so strange? Ember asked. Your own people do the same thing. Teachers who share knowledge, doctors who heal the sick, engineers who build better lives for others. The only difference is the shape of my body. When Hayes returned to her ship to file her report, she faced the most important decision of her career. She could recommend that Ember be contained or removed, following standard protocols for unknown alien contact. Or she could recommend something that had never been done before, full acceptance of a non-human intelligence as a friend and ally of humanity. She thought about the children she had seen laughing with the dragon, the medical advances that could save millions of lives, and the look of pure joy on Ember's face when sharing knowledge with eager students. The choice, when she really considered it, was not difficult at all. 6 months later, Valdris 3 had become the most important world in human space. The Ember Institute for Interspecies Studies attracted the brightest minds from across Earth's colonies. The dragon's teachings had already led to breakthroughs in medicine, energy production, and space travel that were transforming human civilization. Anna stood in the expanded crystal chamber, now a formal lecture hall, watching Ember teach a group of Earth's most brilliant scientists about the mathematics of faster-than-light travel. The dragon's strength had fully returned, and its scales once again shimmered with vibrant colors. Are you happy? Anna asked during a break in the lesson. Ember turned to look at her, and Anna felt the warmth of the dragon's contentment through their mental bond. Happier than I have been in millennia, little one. For the first time since my people disappeared, I feel like I am fulfilling my purpose. Teaching? More than that, Ember said, watching as human and alien students discussed concepts that had once seemed impossible. Helping others reach their full potential, watching them grow and learn and become more than they ever thought they could be. Anna smiled as she watched a young scientist have a breakthrough moment, understanding dawning in her eyes as the implications of Ember's teachings became clear. You know, there's something I've been wondering about. You mentioned once that you could sense others like yourself scattered across the universe. Ember's eyes took on a distant look, and Anna felt a flutter of excitement through their bond. Yes, not of my species, but beings who share the same calling. They are out there, waiting for people ready to meet them with open hearts instead of closed fists. Maybe someday we'll be ready to find them too, Anna said. Perhaps, Ember agreed. And when that day comes, they will find a humanity that has learned the most important lesson in the universe, that kindness is the greatest strength of all. Outside the chamber, children from Earth played with colonist friends in gardens that bloomed with flowers from a dozen different worlds. Above them, construction crews worked on the new starships that would carry human explorers to distant systems, equipped with Ember's gifts and guided by the dragon's wisdom. The universe was vast and full of wonders, and for the first time in its history, humanity was ready to explore it not as conquerors but as friends seeking friends among the stars.